So I'm at home. For the last 2 days, I actually have not left my desk. The voices in my head are playing with my face. They are basically stopping circulation, just ruining my skin, aging me, making my hair fall out, screaming, shocking my brain as I'm working or reading or trying to learn something new. And then at the same time, like, I'm dizzy, and they are trying to stir this like aggressive nature to see if they can get me aroused while they're making me dizzy. Like, they want me fighting while they're making me dizzy, rather than to sit down and say, I mean, it's just psychotic, and the women are laughing. This is psychotic. They're terrorists. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists talking in my head, and they are torturing me using a telepathy weapon. They're lying. I want them sentenced to death. These bitches aren't investigating. I can't even believe they would allow for this. They're terrorists talking in my head, and they're pretending to be coming from outside. They're making me dizzy. The problem, like, for the past 2 days, I haven't played music. We're not watching TV. Honestly, my house feels miserable. And I can't even lie. I feel bad. I cannot provide my kids with the environment that is, like, happy and full of, of plans and goals and just like, it's not that inviting environment where you're raising your kids to feel like there's a bright future ahead of them. I'm actually fighting terrorists talking in my head every day. All I keep hearing is that they want my kids to die. In my fucking head. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists, and I want them sentenced to death. They're talking in my fucking head. And the piece of shit keeps saying, sexy, Renee, sexy. And then he wants me scrolling through Facebook and wasting my fucking time. And then looking at YouTube videos of people that die. Or people that have died. That were murdered brutally. And then they want me sitting there listening to music and not accomplishing a goddamn thing and not learning anything. They want me constantly sensitive, and they're like, this is insane. They're Egyptian American Muslims. Their brothers are clearly just, they're way out. They don't care. They murdered my friend Bernadette. They murdered David Basili, Daniel Atkins, the girl that was with him, Aaliyah, Florence Joyner Jr., CK, CJ, Thomas, Jerry, Morrow, Miriam's parents, the girl, she's a 17-year-old girl. I heard about it from my ex-husband when we were together. I had just left the parking lot, and he didn't live in the best place. So I pulled him out of there so fast. And I mean, we were young, and I was optimistic, and things were way different then. And so, of course, I was going to see him, and then I left his place of residence, and I was on my way home, and as I was hopping on the freeway, literally, which was like less than 5 minutes away from his house, he calls me, and he's like, oh my, Renee, are you, like, first he was like, are you okay? I just want to make sure you're okay. And I said, yeah, I just hopped on the freeway. And he goes, oh my gosh, there was just a drive-by shooting, and the girl she was on her way, there was a girl in the passenger seat of this, I think it was it was an SUV, like a mini SUV. I was sitting in the passenger seat, or maybe it was anyways, it doesn't matter. She was sitting in the passenger seat. I guess whoever was driving by thought that the driver was like a gang affiliated person, and started firing at the car, shot the girl. She died immediately, like on the scene. The terrorists talking in my head said they're responsible for the murder of Dilo, which happened to be one of my ex-husband's really good friends. Somebody came to his door, knocked on his door, on Christmas Eve or the night before Christmas Eve. It was like the 23rd or the 24th, in front of his 2-year-old daughter. The terrorists talking in my fucking head are Egyptian American Muslims. I want to just make that very fucking clear. And they're saying that they're responsible for the murder of what happened to D'Lo. And then in front of his 2-year-old daughter. And I had just left that day, that morning, and it happened at night. And his, I don't know, I guess his wife was at the neighbor's house, and it was just him and his daughter. And so, of course, they heard the gunshot that whoever it was took off running. No, I don't know if they caught him. I have no idea. I can't remember. I think my ex said they did. I have no idea. But anyways, nonetheless, she came running to the house, found him on the floor, and of course their daughter. So they said they murdered Mark and Jacob Iskander and framed Rebecca Grossman. They murdered Amin and Sarah Saad and framed Yasser. They're talking in my head, and they have full the technology that they're using has full potential to take control of you completely. And it actually can, it is so precise at almost like at disguising itself to make you feel as though it's your natural self, not as if you're not as if no one's using this weapon on you. You wouldn't be able to tell otherwise. It's obvious that they have named me as somebody, as suspect, or maybe it was my driving record. Because now that I'm actually starting to understand the ins and outs of what they're doing. It's been 7 years, and I know it's like it's been 7 years. They're trying to find a reason. First of all, they're trying to defame me, and in hopes that I defame me by torturing me, and then I'm screaming outside, and then I'm acting as if I don't hear voices in my head. Calling the police department and writing up reports, and then it becomes public record for them to go and investigate further. So all I keep thinking about was I had a shitty driving record. I had my divorce, and then me and my mom were at odds, and there was a point where I was living with her, and she asked me to leave, and I didn't leave, and she wanted to evict me. So I've had a few but it's, nonetheless, I'm not embarrassed of those things. Me and my mom our relationship is much different now. But all I can think of is those are the public records I have. It's not like I've never had a DUI or drug charge, or I've never done drugs. They must have used it and said, hey, we feel like Renee's driving record suffices to investigate, and clearly she is of a danger to the general public because she's on eminent domain driving her car recklessly, according to her record. That is the only thing that I could think of. Okay, and aside from and me and my ex, and we had this our child support case. Aside from that, I don't know what else it could be. Yes, I did file a report against my ex-husband because he used to drink excessively. So, and I keep thinking back, but the problem is they're trying to make it seem as though I'm negligent. So while I'm working or while I'm doing anything that can push me forward, going to church, networking at events or family gatherings or weddings, and that's why they made my hair fall out, so that people are less inclined to see me, because if you saw pictures of me before, I didn't look like this. looked much healthier. And of course, my hairline wasn't back here. Although, look at this. Look at this. This is what they did. I swore to myself, every time I make a video, I'm like, I'm not going to play with my hair and I'm not going to touch my face, and I end up doing it anyway. So I'm going to try to stop now. But they're playing with my head. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. When I'm networking, it's like they're retarding me. So I actually, like, I can't get engaged. I can't hear the person in front of me. I can't recall anything so that I can, share my experiences so we can, we can have a deeper connection. I can't, my work at times, it's like I want to bring up programs or discuss products or, I see an opportunity for someone to benefit. And it's like immediately I forget. Immediately, it's like everything just blanks in my head. And the terrorists keep saying, get the fucking picture, you stupid bitch. Get the fucking picture. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists. And and it's the women. Because the women are going to face the death penalty as well. Or they're either going to be investigated using the same means, or they're, and basically forced into court, or they're gonna, whatever. They're gonna be forced into court, I would assume, or sentenced. They're gonna be sentenced to death. They're gonna be investigated using the same means, and they're gonna be sentenced to death. And that's all there is to it. And so they keep saying, get the fucking picture, you stupid bitch, because they don't want me explaining that I hear them in my head. Now I'm wasting time. It's 4:45. I've been on my computer since yesterday. I've gathered a decent amount of information, but I'm realizing, hey, I want to soak in as much information about real estate as possible, in all the different arenas. And so I've been on it, and I've always been very OCD to an extent about understanding parameters of guidelines and just being very thorough, especially because my mom's a stickler. So I think it's just a part of my, it's become so a part of me, because I've always had to prove a point to my mom, that it just comes so naturally. So anyways, they'll make me dizzy, they'll start screaming, they'll make me forget so that I don't get involved. All they want me to do is move around, like anytime. And then here is, oh my gosh, and then the way they set things up so that they can destroy their victims. So they will sit there, they will basically start screaming in your head, get you really hysterical and feeling uncomfortable, and defaming your name in your community so that people don't want to talk to you, so you're isolated, so you feel embarrassed, and then they'll play with situations when you're completely and utterly sensitive, and when someone's just reacting pretty normally to you, and you wouldn't have thought about it you wouldn't have thought twice about it, where you're all of a sudden thinking, hey, that person, looks like they're talking about me, or that they're going to do something to me. So they're constantly playing with their victims' heads, making them feel like, okay, I got to start all over again. And typically they do that after someone's already lended you a hand or offered you an opportunity, so that they can continue to say, no, that you the victim of their human trafficking and all their crimes and all their torture and all their abuse, are the negligent one. And then on top of the fact, you're not going to seek medical attention. So even worse, you're almost admitting that the voice, like you're you're not admitting that you hear voices in your head. Like, that alone is damaging to the brain. I mean, to hear it 24/7 and it's aggressive in nature and it's depressing, like, assuming that it wasn't in your head, pretending that it's the environment you live in, okay? That alone, they say, is detrimental to your mental health. So imagine now it's in your head and there are people talking inside your head and no one else can hear, and there is absolutely no escape. That is so, like, they're causing you brain damage. Go seek medical attention. Tell them they're going to say you need schizophrenia. I mean, antipsychotic medications. Take it. Big deal. It's not a big deal. Just make sure that when you tell the psychiatrist, hey, I hear voices, they sound like terrorists, and they go prescribe you meds, they're not going to shove the meds down your throat. They're going to send it to the pharmacy. You're going to go pick it up, and you're going to take it home. You take it, you don't take it, that's up to you. But on your medical records, it says, hey, I hear terrorists in my fucking head. And anytime you call the police, it's a medical record. It's so that these terrorists do not have access to your medical records. It actually protects you so they can't further investigate anyone around you or you. I am telling you, these terrorists are fucking trash. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists, and they're weird ass fucking men. And I was gonna say, so the men will shock me and abuse me and do whatever and say, oh, we're gonna ruin your transactions. We're gonna, no more money, stupid bitch. I swear to, and then the women will like hop in, like, get the fucking picture, as if, okay, there's not a scratch on us, and we've had it great, and no one gives a shit how many of your friends or whatever passed away, and nobody cares if you know that we murdered them, and basically cooperate, or we're gonna keep fucking hurting you. Stop telling people. And it's like, get the fucking picture. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you stupid bitch. You're talking in my fucking head, you vulnerable whore. So whether or not people can hear you, people with records and people with the assets, okay, to the assets and contributing to this country's welfare, and social services, and to retirement and life insurances, and to the community and the country at large, okay, honey, have access to these records. And it is obvious as to it'll be obvious to them as to what crimes you're committing. And I'm not going to sit here and I'm going to make sure that if people that hold the records can't disclose what is going on in the investigation unless there's public records brought forward, so that, or not public records, so that there are entities that have put interest in our welfare department and our medical, what was I saying? I'm so sorry. I was thrown off. What I was saying was, what I had told the terrorists was, okay, if you're talking, sweetheart, and there are entities that provide to these welfare and social security funds, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go apply for those funds, and I'm going to make sure that they understand, using my medical records, which you don't have access to, but they do, because they have an interest, because they are the ones who put forth the financial backing to make sure that I get the medical attention I need, have these records to provide in court to hold against you if ever, when the time comes. And not just that, there are like subliminal messages everywhere. They don't want to outwardly say it, because the terrorists talking in my head are just dying to like sue United States of America for everything they could possibly sue them for. So they're tiptoeing around discussing the major issues here. But there are terrorists in this country, and of the organization of them, there are a few, I couldn't tell you the number of family of Egyptian American Muslims, but I would assume not too many, but there are enough, okay, in this country that are involved in that organization, and a group of them are talking in my head. There is a community of people called they name themselves targeted individuals. Those people have said they hear the same voices I hear, obviously not exactly the same, but it's like a group of people, and I started to really assess the issues here, and the similarities in the way that they're attacking these individuals, and so I started to understand, like, okay, these manipulative piece of shits talking in our head really don't want us in front of security cameras. Okay, because then there's like overlays, like, okay, well, if the voices were coming from outside, then why in the hell didn't you pull that security camera outside? This would be in front of, if in fact after they quote unquote investigate me and I die and they have to go back and they need to reinvestigate, okay, or reinvestigate or further investigate, then in fact the ones that hold the records, they know how vulnerable we as civilians who have no access to these weapons or don't have the financial backings to need them, right? Sorry, they're playing with my head. They know how vulnerable we are. So if anything, they're making sure the terrorists didn't steal any money, the ones that are talking in our heads, and I'm calling them terrorists because they are flat out. They're not like innocently using this technology. They're going to make sure that the people didn't have a mental condition initially, okay? That there were no changes in their health or their mental ability. That they're going to check to make sure that there are no medical records to back that there were, right? Any injuries caused to the person that was named a suspect in a crime or someone that they needed to investigate. That it was brought forward in front of the public, if in fact there was anything, and that these terrorists did not use this weapon to cause injury. They make sure that every word that we speak and that every word that we hear from outside is or every word that we speak rather is what is documented on our medical records, okay? Like that is like the main thing. They want to make sure that the US government wants to make sure that when you go in to see your doctor and you say, I hear voices in my head, your doctor is jotting down, because these are mind control, mind manipulating, mind reading, thought implanting weapons. So they want to make sure that, okay, on the record, Renee said she heard voices and they're Egyptian American Muslim women. They want to make sure that when that doctor heard me say it, he wrote it down verbatim. And if there is any discrepancy with what I've said and with what's on those records, those terrorists talking in our head are being held, they're going to be held suspects to the crime. They will then be investigated and convicted. So I'm like, okay, piece of shit, you're clearly talking in my head. There are clearly records involved. Why in the hell would you talk? Why would someone talk in your head? They don't want you in front of cameras. They don't want you in front of people. They don't want you around anybody. They want you feeling unattractive, not wanting to go out, feeling preoccupied. They want you entertaining toxic environments. People that do drugs, smoke, drink, they want you in loud environments, and they want to say you basically self-sabotage, you were negligent, and that was the cause of your death. Anybody that was around you at that time, I would assume that. And God knows how they're manipulating this shit. It's like cases all over the place, and you're out in the worst areas, and you're like, okay, I'm so tired of these voices. I'm gonna go grab a drink. I'm gonna go to the bar, and then you happen to be at the bar, and right outside someone's jacking something, and now all of a sudden you die, and they're like, oh my gosh, there were all these people that were that were there, and this guy who. He was clearly negligent and was a danger to the public and died of what they may end up calling, suicide, because they might say that your intoxication, your drinking, your consuming of any type of drug is suicide, right? And then it's causing their property values to lose to sorry, they're playing with my head. It drops the profits of different of it messes with they're playing with my head, to say that their losses are from their profit losses are from the negligence of these victims of their crimes. Okay, and so they paint this huge picture of you, and then you're out in public, you're in a loud place, somebody gets jacked outside, and they're like, how do we know he wasn't, the voices or whatever that were following him around weren't the same voices that jacked him? We want to investigate, everyone that was there that day. So if you in fact don't tell your medical professionals that the voices are in your fucking head, you are putting yourself at a huge risk. Also, and as far as the witnesses go, like I keep saying, the voices want to blend in. So if there happen to be witnesses there happen to be people around you, they want them to be numerous, so that it's like, a lot of chatter, and it's not like a distinct voice and you can hear the conversation. What the terrorists want is for you to be in those type of environments, so they can say, well, everyone was talking. I mean, who could have picked that up if they, right? So that's one thing. Like, they were and everybody was drunk and everybody was intoxicated at the bar, and that impairs their judgment. They probably didn't hear it, or maybe they thought it was a joke, or maybe whatever, right? And then it actually happens though, so it obviously wasn't. So you think about how they want to manipulate these records and what they're attempting to do, and then after all the crimes they've said they've committed, and all I could think is, they said Rebecca Grossman is actually innocent, and she's sitting well and alive, unfortunately, in prison. Okay? And all I can think is, what are these piece of shits really after murdering 2 kids, if that's the case? If they have to sit here and scream and fucking abuse me to death, make my hair fall out, and don't want me. And now when I'm saying, Leah, I'm done talking. They were abusing me and my kids from day one. There's nothing I can say. And by abuse, I mean by depriving us, by talking in my head. My daughter sees me and she's like, my mom has lost her marbles. She's completely depressed because of what the terrorists talking in my head have done. They have set us back so far back. I mean, there's no way I can repair the damages. I'm turning 40 in 2 weeks. Not even on the 17th, and today's the 9th. What was I going to say? So you think about how they want to stage the next opportunity to investigate, right? And all while torturing these victims and abusing them, and then using them as some kind of like a tool in their shed until it no longer is useful to them, and then they throw it out and say like, oh, this was the worst tool ever, like this, and just they're psycho terrorists talking in my fucking head, promise to God. They're trying to deplete the Federal Reserve, and they're hiding money, and they're doing this and they're doing that, and it's just so obvious. It's obviously a ring of terrorists. It's not just someone's talking in my head. and like I said, they're talking in my head. So all I can think of is like, okay, well, obviously, I mean, you're talking in my head. It's not like the U.S. government's going to say, oh, look at these 5 or 10 or 20 terrorists that are a huge threat. Obviously not. And then if they're all talking in my head, that doesn't even make sense. Why not just traffic me and just abuse me? Like, why don't just pick me up and move me around like a little puppet? Why talk in my head? And so I kept sitting there and I was like, okay, they're obviously, their counterparts don't want to be held accountable for the crimes that the terrorists in my head are being that for the crimes that they would be convicted for if they were to be convicted. So it's like they're operating individually, but at the same time they do overlap and work together to an extent. And then when they need to break ties, and just there's a lot that they've explained to me, and I'm sure I don't make sense. I always think I do, and then I go back to listen to my videos, and I realized, oh, I stuttered there, or I sounded like I said, no, the terrorists are actually sweet when they're not. And I'm like, okay, so I'm sorry. They're definitely psychotic, evil sociopaths. I want them sentenced to death. They're definitely Egyptian, the ones that are talking in my head. They are, I mean, I don't know them. I don't owe them money. I don't owe anybody money. And all I can think is, why, I mean, you're talking in my head. I don't know you. Like, why not just do it? Just so many questions that are just the answer, the questions of they're just, their silence in these areas, or in this case, their chatter in my head is actually more of the answer answers I've been seeking. And I don't know, I made sense of it all. They don't want us in front of security cameras. They don't want us making videos on social media. They don't want us trying to look like we're making money, because they can see from our eyes. So anything that's being recorded, it's not just what you hear, it's not just what you say, it's not just it's what you see, it's your brain activity. They want to make sure the people that hold the records, before, I would assume, before permitting them to move forward, because I have a feeling there's like a major central, or maybe there's a few, that's a good question, but it seems as though maybe collectively they all have to agree that the terrorists talking in our heads didn't manipulate the circumstances at all. And if there are any discrepancies at that point, it's like, well, it gives them leverage, the terrorists talking in my head, to say, hey, no, we're actually being discriminated against by these entities that are, their records don't match up to yours, or they see it differently, or whatever the case is. So all I could think of is that there has to be some unanimity, so a collective agreement on whether or not these terrorists are manipulating records, and whether or not they should continue to be permitted to use the technologies. And I am absolutely refusing to allow that to happen over my dead body. There's no way in fucking hell. These terrorists are talking in my head. They've been doing it for 8 years. They abused me. They abused my mom. They said they murdered my dad. They gave him a heart attack. They said they murdered Dr. George Ereb. And I've already mentioned so many before. These are a few other names. My friend Heidi's her old boss's husband, went home after losing his job, and I think he hung himself. And I think she said he hung himself, but I don't know. I keep going back and forth, or maybe it's the voices in my head saying, I'm going to shoot you in the head. I can't remember. I can't remember what happened, and I don't know. They're messing with my head. So I don't know if he actually shot himself or if he hung himself, but he did commit suicide. That I know for a fact. Or he committed suicide. And it's just, this is ongoing. This is ongoing. 30 minutes of my day I just spent. I've been pretty good the last 2 days at ignoring them. I definitely need to go seek medical attention because they've been shocking my brain. I'm gonna go get a biopsy on my hair to make sure that it isn't alopecia, and that it can grow back, because I have a friend that had cancer, and thank God she's doing much better. And not to say that I'm jealous or anything like that, but my hair, I have no reason for my hair to fall out. She had chemo and all her hair fell out, right? And it has grown all back. And my hair has fallen out completely and hasn't grown back at all. And I have no reason for it to fall out. So I'm gonna be seeking medical attention. I'm struggling to articulate myself. I'm stuttering. I loss of my memory. I am having bouts of confusion and feeling just my hands. I'll wake up some mornings and they're so stiff from my from a lack of circulation. It's like all my blood got trapped in my hand and it's swollen and it's hard. Or they'll dehydrate my face, or they'll cause these circles around my. It's just, this is insanity. They're playing with my face right now. It's just, this is insane. I want them sentenced to death. They are Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists, and there is absolutely no way. And the more aggressive I am, not aggressive, but the more adamant is the right word about the way I'm handling, how I'm going to handle this moving forward, the more abusive they get. So I now that it's very clear as to how serious I am about them being sentenced to death, and that there is no way they're going to manipulate me. They've kept me up every night so that I sleep maybe 2-3 hours. So they've been depriving me of sleep. The thing is, they actually want me sleeping during the day so badly so that I can, so that I'm not involved with anyone. So they've been depriving me every single night for the past month. They're playing with my head again. For the past month. And it's like maybe and I insist on going to the gym, and I'm insisting on getting up at the same time every day. So at this point, it's like 1 or 2 hours. So they'll keep me up until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. They'll be screaming in my fucking head. Okay, and then I'll pull out my phone. I'll place my phone down on my nightstand, and now it's like I have to turn on the lights and like do a quick record what's going on in the house and make sure that on the record it's obvious no one's in here. Place my phone down, and then just let it record to make it clear that it's not my neighbors, it's not coming from outside. And then I post it on YouTube so that the terrorist talking in my head can't even there's no way in fucking hell they can pretend that I didn't give them enough evidence or enough what other word would I be looking for them to decipher if I'm schizophrenic, or it's the voices outside, or if it's the TV. It's from somewhere else. And then there are, oh my gosh, and then I can go on and on and on and on about the abuses. So yeah, it's like a month of no sleep. My hair is falling out. I have to go see my doctor about poor circulation. My kids, man.
Can I get a $10 card?
Yes, baby.
Yeah.
Yes. And then defaming the name of me and my kids, and then my daughter, for a minute, her school and her teachers were saying, "Oh no, she has Leah has an attitude problem." I said, "No, the hell she doesn't." Her mom, me, I've been psychotic for the last 4 years. I thought someone was stalking me literally, and people. What's going on is that it's there are I hear voices talking in my head. I hear voices in my head. And I thought people were stalking me. She didn't have a sense of security or a foundation, and and I had no financial security or savings or anything. Like and no, I wasn't working. I mean, there was just they're playing with my head. We were just bouncing around from one place to the other. And I like completely did a 360 on my daughter. And I'm like, she doesn't know the material and she feels behind, and she is. And then not that she's not capable, but she's feeling behind and she needs help. And then they'd be like, no, but she's capable, because she does articulate herself pretty well. But when it comes to what she doesn't understand, she's honest about it. And if if especially in math, if it's like building on each other, and she's already fallen behind, there's no way she's going to catch up if she's just checking out. And then when she checks out, they're like, Leah, pay attention. And she's like, I really don't understand. And they're like, well, that's because you checked out. And it's like, no, she really didn't understand. Now it's like way too late. She actually needs a lot more support. And she's a sweetheart. You guys are so wrong, because she would get defensive, and then she would be too embarrassed. Oh, and then she was too embarrassed to say, hey, my mom hears voices in her head. My mom's schizophrenic. So she was taking on the burden of what was going on in my house. It's the terrorists in my head are Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists. I want them sentenced to death. I don't give a flying shit about these whores at all. At all. They're talking in my head. I am seeking medical attention for the injuries or the damages. I mean, I'm going to call them injuries. They're brain and organ damage. My skin is an organ. Yeah, we're done. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. And I'm just going to make that very clear. Anyways, I got to go. I've spent 45 minutes wasted again. But, I mean, it's for my safety, so it's not like it's like I would be doing this otherwise. But it's still like they're terrorists in my fucking head that I want sentenced to fucking death. And then these are like, the bitches talking in my head are so fucking lunatics. They're actual fucking loonies. These bitches are actually lunatics. They'll sit there and what was I gonna say about these stupid psycho whores, dude? They're like trying so hard to emphasize being gorgeous, and I'm like, so what? I mean, what? Murdering kids according to you guys are the ones murdering kids, doesn't make you feel sexy. So if I feel sexy or I felt confident, it was an issue because I'm not a criminal. So go ahead and destroy my image. And they're this like, and then it's like this more of a manipulation to try to get you to go sleep with someone and be promiscuous and be irresponsible, and it like they try to shove that shit down your throat. They're talking in my head. They're terrorists, and it's a complete agenda. Oh, and I did touch base with Scott. I thought I said I was in, and I don't know if you've made it through all of this, but if you have, thank God. I've been doing this for 7 years, and I appreciate it honestly, because the people in my life are so like they don't know what's going on. They don't know what to think. They're like on the fence. Like when they see the look in my eyes and they hear what I have to say, I can tell to an extent they're like they feel slightly uncomforted, like they might possibly be entertaining the fact that is a fact, that I'm not lying. Because they know me so well, and it's not like I sound out of my mind completely. Like, I'm not like, oh, talking to a wall and I'm losing it, which I was doing in the beginning because I thought it was my neighbor. Not because I think walls talk or something, which is what I'm, I think my family is looking at me like she's not talking to the walls, saying, oh, the walls are talking. And so I think that's why, to an extent, they give me an ear, but it is a lot to take, and I need a much bigger support group than just my family. It just, there's no way they could handle all this on their own. All the negativity that these terrorists um, just that they fill me with, this energy, and it's like, I don't want to push off my family. I don't want them turned off by me or my friends or people at church. So it's like, if I have a bigger community and I discuss it with people on and off, and it's not, and then it's like more like people are checking in rather than me having to like constantly, reach out crying frantically, where it's like, okay, this is like the millionth time Renee's not getting any better, go, we gotta go, or, and I'm not calling them away from their work or their so um uh but yeah, anyways, what was I saying? So I do appreciate it, and I was gonna say, and I don't know if I said this in the beginning, and I'm probably gonna start the next video the next time I make a video. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna jot that note down right now. About oh, I did. After gaining stability and momentum. Sorry. So part of the agenda is to break down their victims completely of credit, having a means of transportation, a secure place to live, and a network that'll that sees them as professionals, to help them to build themselves, and to talk about them, as refer them out, to feel confident that, hey, this person has my best interest at hand, they know what they're talking about, yada, so on and so forth. So what they'll do is they'll go through these waves where it's like, okay, they're trying to build their life back up again. Okay, she signed a lease. Now she has more custody of her kids, and she's she's working out, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like like I said, aggressive night after night after night after night after night. It's like, now she's tired, now she's sick, now she's missing work, now she's she's not able to afford the rent. Now it's one behind payment. Now her kids, she's working double shift. She can't help her kids in school, and her kids are going late to school, and then it's like and her car needs repair and she can't afford to pay, and then it's like, okay, now she's being evicted, now her daughter has shown up late to school, now they want you to suffer silently. Like the terrorist bitch is talking in my head, swear to God that I need to stop discussing that I hear them in my head. They are so out of their fucking minds to think that I'm not going to discuss them this openly. I swear to God, I have nothing to lose. What in the fuck would I lose? What would my daughter lose? This is the worst case scenario. I gain nothing from not mentioning that I hear them, and it's not even mentioning, not discussing them to the depths. I gain absolutely nothing. If anything, this is as close, this is the most security that I have at protecting my family. And they think I'm going to give that up. They're fucking out of their minds. The women will sit there after the men abuse me. They're making me dizzy right now. They're changing the color of my eyes. They're making it glossy. And as you can see, for the past hour, you've been watching me. I didn't pick up a cigarette. I don't smoke. I don't drink. They're just playing with my head. They play with your circulation. They can stop processes in your mind. And then they even told me they can rewire your mind, or they can basically the structure of your brain, okay? It basically, you fall, and then you have some of your brain is injured, and now it's structurally different than it was before, because some of those nerve endings, or whatever, at the end, at your tip of your brain, die. And so they're saying, hey, we replace that with like another person's imprint. Your brain does grow you grow nails. Like it's like anything else. It heals itself, but it doesn't heal itself to its well, I guess it could. Because in all technicality, your brain works just like a computer. It's a cycle of circulatory signals firing off, right? And it discovers these paths along the way as you're experiencing life. And so if something ends up missing, I think eventually it calculates it back into the formula, and then your mind actually heals back to its full capacity. So I might be wrong in regards to the ability of your mind to actually do that. But they're saying they basically stop it, and they can replace it with someone else's, like an imprint of someone else's like mind, like after they've mapped someone's mind and took bits and pieces and implanted it into someone's head. So a man can now be more feminine. Like they sit there and the processes that make him more masculine, they can sit there and basically destroy the synapses, destroy the tissue, whatever, and then formulate it so that those signals now they're incorporated with someone else's mind map networks, and then integrate. It's just weird. I know I sound crazy. I'm going way off the deep end. Now I actually sound crazy, but yeah, I was just saying they're basically out to. I got some momentum going. I have my daughter's tutoring now. I am focused on what I want to do. I am hungry to make money, and I am just like, I keep watching different investors and people in the real estate industry that are just, they're so motivational, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I want to follow in their footsteps. So all I keep doing is taking in all this information and strategies and to better myself and further my career. And it's like that to them, because like I said, they can see through my eyes, and anyone that has the records can see clearly what I've been giving my attention to. So for the terrorists talking in my head, they can't make any accusations that I'm negligent or irresponsible. So they're just like full blown, like attacking me. Like, this is fucking sickening, dude. Oh my freaking God. Someone is like, they know you don't do drugs. They know you, and they're, it's not like, it's not the same. It isn't the same thing as like you see someone and they're doing drugs and you try over and over to help them, right? And then you're like, screw them. Or you're just one of those people who is just like, I don't, you know what? To each his own. I just don't let those people in my life, right? It's not like that. This is someone who is deliberately trying to put drugs down your throat despite the fact that you don't do drugs. Like trying to manipulate you to say that prescription drugs make you look like a drug addict, or and to convince you that alternative, okay, and by alternative methods I mean like things out on the street, because all the labels on the over the counters have side effects. Like the terrorists were like, oh, Rogaine will give you a heart attack. Oh, this, and it's just all this deliberate bullshit to get you to go outside and find other means of medicating if you felt it necessary. And to completely avoid any records involving you stating that you hear voices, or you feel sick, or you're not doing, like, constant. They're fucking psycho terrorist bitches, dude. I want them sentenced to fucking death. And then it's like, you whore, you fucking whore, you fucking whore. And then it's like, okay, your hair is falling out. And they want me to argue and be like, I can still, just, they want me to sound stupid. Like, I can go put extensions in, like I'm not being abused. And then like making very minimal, and it's like I'm getting like cheap hair extensions and looking like a messed up mop, and I'm just like swearing to God that I look just fine. They're terrorists talking in my head. I want them fucking sentenced to death, and I'm not freaking joking. They are Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists. I swear to God. I'm sorry. I know that's so bad. I don't mean to swear, but I like, oh my goodness gracious. When this gets out, these bitches are sentenced. They're getting sentenced to death. They are getting sentenced to fucking death. Anyways, have a wonderful day. And thank you for listening if you did.